Well, we're live. Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 13 of COVID Edu Stories. And that's probably the last time you'll hear me say those words, because we've been talking for a little while about where we're going to be moving forward with the show that we're doing. And I thought, you know, I've been doing like IT Evangelist Live for some time and these bits and bobs. Then the lockdown and all the sort of conversation, we all had to worry about COVID and things happened. It was a great opportunity to share ideas and things, but super keen to keep this going. It's been so lovely to get all the feedback from people about the show and the impact and the stories we've been bringing through and the experiences. It's been absolutely fantastic. So Bukky and I have moved from doing our shows on Periscope. YouTube is a fantastic platform, much easier for us to share things. Please do hit the subscribe button down in the corner, please. And we'll never miss an episode then. Just prior to the show, Bukky and I were talking. My son shouted through, Dad, your episode starts, because we've got a smart TV, you see. And so it was telling us that the episode was about to start. And so there are lots and lots of benefits to us in making things more transparent and shareable and all those sorts of things by having things on YouTube. And we sort of changed things to being UK Edu Stories as well. So hopefully you're having a fantastic half-term week. It has been a real scorcher where I am down in Somerset. How about yourself, Bukky? Is it a warm day today with you?
Yeah, well, hi, Rose. Hi, Mark. Yes, it's been fantastic, of course. And it's half term, even better. And I've done pretty much, well, my version of next to nothing. I'm always busy, but it's just great just to sit back and relax a little bit. Yeah, just to get a chance to just to think through things very slowly. But yeah, great week. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Well, tonight we are having a focus on EAL and ESOL. And we've got some fantastic guests who've given up their time to come along and share with us this evening. Bukky, shall we bring on the first guest?
Yes, so our first guest is Alex.
Okay, so here we go. Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Alex. Welcome to this episode.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure, Alex. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you work, what you do, and so forth and so on? Is that okay?
Yeah, so I'm an ESOL teacher. I would call myself a facilitator or learning guide, and I work for one of the largest and I would say most successful colleges in the UK. So,
okay. Fantastic. And what college is that?
It's Leeds City College.
Fantastic. So lots of people, when we were sort of thinking about people to bring on for this particular episode, lots of people recommended you, saying that you share great things on social media and on Twitter. If I just remove the welcome banner at the bottom here, we can see where we can find you on Twitter. You prepared things to share with us this evening. Are you ready to share those things with us now? Is that okay?
Yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen then. Okay, so just give me a second, share screen. And present.
There we go, just coming up on the screen now, fantastic.
So I'm probably going to start now while it's loading. So I've been using digital tools for around three years now, and quite successfully. So, and everything I do, I tend to share on Twitter. I don't really share. So recently somebody posted that I don't share the lessons, but I don't share lessons. I share the ideas and how teachers can implement them. This is what I do. So the first one, so as you can see, I'm a big fan of slidesmania.com. So if you are a teacher, so please, if you've never checked it, check it out. Slide Mania, it's a wonderful website, and all the templates for Google Slides and Microsoft are there, available for free there. So what I'm going to talk about is the term I'm actually learned yesterday. via a webinar. It's called Emergency Remote Teaching, and I think that's exactly what we're doing at the moment. So it's not online teaching, because online teaching takes 6 to 10 months to prepare a proper course. So what we're doing, we're taking the resources and trying to adjust them to the best way we can. But I can't see you. But another thing I learned from the webinar yesterday is just constant checking with your students when you do live lessons. It's like, can you see me? Can you hear me? As an example, so you can ask your students to raise their hands up and say, can you see me? Bend to the right. Can you hear me? Bend to the left. So I thought this was quite a brilliant idea. So So I would also recommend checking out. So I already said it's a slides menu, so you can find lots of free templates and resources. ESOL teachers, if you're really struggling with ideas for your online classes, Macmillan Education Webinar Archives got amazing resources there with a lot of ideas for you to implement. So every hour you're going to spend there, it's going to be worth spent, trust me. So another one, obviously, copyright activities and images, audio and video files. I think it's quite important to mention that everything you do online, you have to set an example for your students. So one of my favorites are going to be, it's Pixabay, and so if you just Google Creative Commons, you will find lots of websites. And also, this is something for quite a few years now, I've been trying different methods for teaching, and I'm quite passionate about raising self-directed, self-motivated learners. And recently, just a few months ago, I found, probably, I'm thinking that that's the spot on. It's something called Universal Design for Learning. So it's a completely based on brain science and evidence-based, and it's all about the learners becoming self-motivated, self-directed, and ensuring that every single learner has an access, and a teacher becomes a facilitator and provides the tools for learners to use how they want to. So I'm really interested in discovering more about that. So my online teaching, just a few words. So to be honest with you, it has been a disaster.
I appreciate your honesty there.
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought, if I've been using digital tools quite successfully in my own classroom, face-to-face with my students, I will feel like fish in the water. But no, it didn't happen. So live lessons, I mainly teach teenagers. Live lessons didn't work for us at all. So what I decided to do, because in college we use G Suite for Education, and Google describes itself as Google Classroom is the mission control for your classroom, and it is one of the best platforms, I think, that ties together all the G Suite tools like Google Docs, Google Slides, Forms, with all the excellent apps. They are actually embedded into your classroom. So, for example, everything I do, I think the main thing, so I've never been on YouTube, never YouTubed anything, but because of this remote teaching, so I'm in the time of 7 to 8 weeks, I've got over 200 instructional videos on my YouTube channel now, using Screencastify. It's absolutely essential tool for online learning. And especially for our learners, it's where they need very clear, precise instructions, and you can share your screen with them and guide them step by step exactly what you want them to do. And then again, the first 2 weeks, I had messages in Hangouts 24/7. So those videos, it was the easier. Just click on the link and send it to them. Watch the video and follow the instructions. So quizzes, absolutely amazing tool, fun, easy to use. I haven't seen any ESOL learner who doesn't like this tool. So it's engaging, it's fun, and you can create your own quizzes, or you can choose from the quizzes that are already available there. And it's the most important thing. It's part of your Google Classroom, and it pulls out all the marks you need. So that mission. This is why Google Classroom is called Mission Control. So you've got everything in one place. Adobe Spark, I just love this tool, and my students as well. So it helps us to. So when I send an assignment to my learners to do anything they want, so they can express themselves in any way they prefer. So they can create, they can make images, they can make videos, they can create their own video stories or anything they like. So I don't really mind how they do it. So I give them all the freedom. I also have to mention a mode extension. So it's add-on to your Google Classroom and Google to your G Suite tools. And this is voice commenting app. It's so easy to use. I introduced it to my team, and some of our beginners teachers, what they said. So I've never done it before, but this is the best extension you can have. So with one click, your learners can hear your voice and can feel that connection with you. Also, if you haven't used Kami before, Kami is it's an extension that will help you to mark and give feedback in PDF files. So it's also worth checking. And also, text help tools like Read and Write and Fluency Tutor are also working very well with our learners. Probably I need to mention that text help is going to it's coming up next week. They're going to have a specifically designed webinar for ESOL teachers, and they're going to talk about how ESOL teachers can implement those tools into their teaching practice. That's probably it. Thank you. So it's very weird talking without seeing your faces.
Thank you. You did very well though, Alex. Thank you. Yes, and thanks for that overview as well. It's very clear. I wanted to ask, for students, for your ESOL, EAL students that, cannot access, for example, the videos and things that you share, or are not able to demonstrate their learning using, so like videos and things like that, are there alternative things in place that they can use to demonstrate their learning and share it with you?
Yeah, so we as I said, I'm lucky enough to work for one of the best colleges in the country. So the management made sure that every learner, especially 16 to 18 teenagers, we gave them a Chromebook. So if they had no connection, yeah.
Okay.
So it was quite amazing. I know other colleges are not in the same position, but we are lucky, and we know that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and that is incredible to hear. Thank you.
Just wanted to jump in a second. I've heard of lots of those tools, but I hadn't heard of Kami before. Was it Kami or Kami?
Kami.
Kami. So it's a tool that enables you to sort of transcribe or annotate PDFs. Is that what you're saying?
PDF, yes. And the free version of Kami is good enough. So you can insert links, you can add images, you can add text, so anything. But the only trick there, so your students need to have that extension as well.
Okay.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, there's some fantastic tools there. I mean, I'm a huge fan of quizzes. Adobe Spark. I mean, I use it literally daily for posts and page and the videos option there as well. I mean, there are so many amazing ways you can use it within an ESOL EAL setting as well. You've always got an audience, so I just want to say hello to Amy Flores, who's joining in. Just said hi, everybody. Audience, well, if you've got any questions for any of our guests, please do send those through in the chat here live on YouTube. Yeah, just thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your presentation as well there, Alex. There's some great tools there. What I'll do is, I've made a note of what you've got there. I'll put those into the show notes, everybody, afterwards, and seeing how Alex shares as she does, I suspect you'll probably share some of that on Twitter and things afterwards as well, but I don't tell you what to do, obviously. That's something I've seen you do before, so hopefully that's something you'll do again this evening. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us this evening. I'm just going to bring in our next guest now, just mindful of the time. So we've got Isla Flood coming in now. So here we go. Hi, Isla.
Hello.
Hi, Isla.
How are you doing?
I'm good, enjoying the sunshine. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Okay,
sorry. I'm Bukky, sorry.
All right, so yeah. So first question. So Isla, would you mind introducing us? Introducing yourself to us, to say where you work and what you do, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an ESOL coordinator and tutor and a teaching and learning coach at a college, a medium-sized college in the West Midlands, Solihull College. And we have a sort of a smallish ESOL department with adults and 16 to 18-year-olds. And I teach across both of those cohorts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So do you have a presentation ready just to share with us? Just to talk through some of the things that you've been undertaking with your students.
Yeah, sure. I'll just get that loaded up.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, so I just got a 2-slide presentation, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about what's worked for us at Solihull with our ESOL learners. So there's sort of 3 key things that have been we've had to consider and have been successes, really. One was a thing that we sort of learned very early on, and we didn't realise this at first, but that most of our learners only have a phone. Some of them don't even have a phone, but the majority have a smartphone. And where we've got adults, even if they've got a computer at home, there might be other family members using it. Our teenagers, some of them have laptops, they're broken, some of them don't, some of them have limited access to the internet. So we quickly learned that we had to make things accessible on a device like this, a smartphone. So learners told us what worked and what didn't, and that was really useful. So we've been using a lot of Microsoft Forms. So if you don't know what that is, it's like an interactive form. Basically, you can put in questions, you can do quizzes, you can embed videos and photos. So within that, we're able to create quite a multitude of resources, comprehension tasks. Some of our tutors, actually fueled by an idea I stole off Alex, because Alex was eagerly converting entry 2 reading exams onto Google Forms, and I thought that's a fantastic idea. So I mentioned it to some teachers, and they've done the same with our some of our City and Guild sample papers, and we put them onto Microsoft Forms and sent them out to learners. And what's brilliant about Forms is when you're making it, you can preview it in phone size, so you can see immediately whether it works for them. And been those resources have really engaged our learners. Another one they really liked was Quizlet as well, which is also really phone friendly, and there's lots that you can do with language, words, and vocabulary on that. So that was one of the things that I wanted to mention, because it might be something that others might not consider, and it's certainly something that we'll be thinking carefully about as we move forward, because hopefully we will be able to get people devices and things like that, but moving forward it's important that people can access wherever they are. I heard someone talking, I think it was this morning when I was listening to the Joy FE broadcast with Stephen Hope, and he mentioned learners on buses, because on the buses they've got free Wi-Fi, so it needs to be accessible wherever, and phones are a great tool for that. The other thing that's been a real success is where learners have sent us writing. I've been screencasting the feedback back to them so that they can watch my feedback, they can hear me speaking, they can see the correction, and they can hear the praise, and that's been really popular. And I was using like Screencast-O-Matic and PowerPoint to record, but now Streams has released a screen record function, and because we're a Microsoft college, that's great for us, because it means we can screen record, upload, send the link, and it's all tightly contained within the Office suite and secure for the learners. So that's been really successful. And then the third thing was something that we started very early on, before we even broke up. And again, another thing that I've magpied from someone else on Twitter, a guy called Rob Beasley, who works at a college in Wales, had this great idea for creating a check-in with his tutees on a form, a Microsoft form or a Google form. And really all it is 3 simple questions. How are you? And then a multiple choice of happy, sad, worried, and they just click the boxes. And then like, do you have any questions? Is there anything else you need from me this week? And we've started sending it out to all our learners remotely now, weekly, so that we can get a quick gauge on how the learners are doing, and then focusing our resources on those that are perhaps not doing so well, and just check that they're all right. And they've been surprisingly honest. And it really has worked, because it's enabled me to think, right, well, that person needs a phone call, or that person needs a video call, that person's okay. And that's really been a real success for us. So I wanted to share those things. And then as I was thinking about what I could present, the other thing that's really sort of come to life recently for me is collaboration, but externally really, and the ability to develop professionally and be part of a network and a community online. That's been so important to me during this time, because it's not easy. I've had like real high moments and real low moments, and I think most of us have, but having this sort of network or community really on Twitter has really helped me. I've been really impressed to see the staff in my team going online and enrolling on things like the Future Learn Teaching English course, which was I did it a few months ago, and it was a real amazing. I really recommend that to ESOL and EAL practitioners for professional development, but also things like the Microsoft Educators community. I'd done a few videos and shared them with staff, and people are really like embracing the change and learning from it, which is wonderful to see. But also the community really, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Joy FE, or hashtag Joy FE, which I've been a part of. We've recently published a couple of online magazines for the FE community, but also what they have is an ideas room that's actually running every morning this week at 8. And at first I was like, oh no, I can't join that. It's too nerve-wracking. I don't have a big idea. No one's going to want to hear me speak or think. But then I sort of braved up and I went in, and I realized it's not about that. It's like a thinking space. It's a community. It's a chance to hear others and support others with their ideas for going back to college, for dealing with what's happening now. And what they employ there, they use like a thinking environment approach. And it is like the most amazing way to hold a meeting. Everyone is equal. You leave your ego, your qualifications at the door. Everyone takes turns. Everyone listens without interruption. And this environment enables people to flourish. I've seen such amazing things created and generated from this room. And it's from Twitter. And I can't believe it, because it's just been an amazing, enriching space to be on. And I wanted to share that with others, because it's there for everybody. Like, you just have to search on Twitter, hashtag your field or JoyFE or Edu Twitter, and tap into the resources, the people speaking, the chats, and your professional developments there. So I wanted to really sort of end on that, about collaboration and how much I've learned. I was so excited when I heard that Alex and Diane were on today, because I'm like, well, like, I know them on Twitter. I'm always following what Alex is doing. Diane's got so much great stuff with Edtech, and that's another network that I must mention, but I'm sure Diane will talk a bit more about it, is the ESOL chat, which is perfect for ESOL practitioners listening on a Monday at 1. And that's been great, because I've been able to listen to others in exactly the same position as me, other teachers, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked, and I've really learned from it. So that's what I wanted to say in my presentation. I'll stop there, and that's it.
All right, thank you so much, Isla. All right, Mark, what's that?
Oh, I've lost.
Oh,
there you go. I'm back now. What happened there? Sorry.
Thank you,
Lovely
Isla.
comments while you've been presenting. I'll just bring some of those up so you can see them, Isla. Rachel O'Hare, owner, come on and said hello. We've had Mars Maths coming on saying hello to you as well. Some comments from Michaela Grieve saying how much she loved collaboration and how she loved the ideas room about sharing and growing. Mars Maths was agreeing at the time when you were talking about the community and the things. I mean, Twitter is such a fantastic place. I mean, Bukky shares just as I do. It's a fantastic, it's like the best sort of teacher staff room in the world. There's so many ideas and collaborative opportunities and people there to support you and what have you. Joe Fletcher Saxon's just said their great input there, Isla, using the JoyFE hashtag as well. Rachel, someone said a fantastic plug for ESOL chat as well. Lots of love clearly for your presentation and things you're sharing, and lovely to hear you sort of praising the work of Alex and Diana as well. I've got a specific question for you, because I'm a secondary teacher by trade, so I've taught 11 to 19 for many, many years. And one of the things that I always sort of struggled with as a non-language specialist was making sure that I was inclusive in terms of some of the children that were in my classroom. And so, one of the ways that I developed and got better at it and that was to speak to people such as yourself, through Twitter and people that I've worked with as well. But if I was an NQT or someone who was even, a bit more long in the tooth like myself now, wanting to engage and make my lessons more accessible for those learners who struggle because English isn't their first language. Have you got any advice to somebody, like in my position, let's say, where this isn't their sort of their specialism?
Yeah, I think you've got to think about the learners' needs in your classroom, I guess. In terms of technology now, there's great tools out there for these kind of to differentiate, basically. One of like the standout ones that I've been using over the last year in like a mixed level classroom, which would be similar to what you've got in a school, is we've got students that can't read or are pre-literate in with students that can. And you're going to have that in your school classrooms too, is Immersive Reader by Microsoft. And they've inbuilt that into their OneNote, their Outlook, most of their tools now. And it's just this, I mean, it's really quite, not life-changing, but it enables students to read text that they wouldn't normally be able to, because it scans it translates it into their language. If they can't read, it can translate it into a picture for a picture dictionary, and it reads it to you. So where I've where once I'd have to like physically support a student and read to them or get a, in-class support to, now I can put them with a device in front of them with the text. They can listen at their own pace, have the text read to them, check through, translate words, while I've got other learners side by side doing comprehension questions at a different level. So that's been a really amazing tool. I think the key is to try and keep the topic the same, but differentiate your resources, and there's some amazing technology certainly out there for that, and that's just one example.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's really useful.
That's really good. Thank you. And before we go on to our third and final guest, I want to just say what I love is the fact that you mentioned how the online community were really important to you during this time as well. So, and the ideas that you're able to have, but also I think the safe learning environment as well, how, you're just sharing ideas and just supporting each other as well, which I think is really important to just share, from an educator's perspective. So thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so we've got our third and final guest this evening, Diana. If you'd like to join us. Hi, Diana.
Hello.
Thank you for patiently waiting.
Nice to see you. It's all right.
You're
enjoying this
film. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? So would you like to introduce yourself, please, to our guests, just to say, our audience, just say who you are, what you do, what role you have, please?
Yeah, so my background is in ESOL teaching, but actually at the moment I am at Leeds Beckett University, and I'm a lecturer and also a researcher doing research on professional learning using Twitter. But my kind of main reason I'm here is with my role with ETtech, which is the professional organisation for ESOL teachers. And I'm a trustee of that and really involved with that. As Isla's already mentioned, it's a really useful organisation, I hope, at the moment for people.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So, Mark, would you like to ask the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. But before I sort of do that, well, the question I want to ask you is about sort of research that informs how you approach how we go about doing these things. But before we go into that sort of stuff, did you want to bring your presentation up, Diana, so if we can get that screen shared?
Yeah, let's see if it works.
Talk through that, because it'd be better to sort of have that.
Right, we'll give it a go and see if it does what it should. Right, has it come up for you?
No, not yet.
It is just down the bottom here. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oops. Just trying to. Sorry, I'm losing other bits of my screen.
Run that.
Just get it onto. Right. Can you see the actual presentation?
There. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's full screen, and the title says "Supporting ESOL students and teachers."
That's perfect. I've kept this really unsnazzy, I'm afraid, compared to the others, but partly because I wanted to just go through some of the points from our ESOL Twitter chat, which we've been doing recently, and I kind of thought that's something I've been kind of co-hosting that, and it's been a really invaluable place for people to share their experiences and their ideas. So there has been lots of practical sharing of tools, but also lots of just support, as Isla was saying before, lots of support for colleagues, and really kind of, it's a really positive space. And what's been really nice is that we've had people participating who are right across the sector, so college-based, adult and community learning, voluntary sector, so a really broad mix of provision, which sometimes gets a little bit left out, I think, when we talk about ESOL practice. And the other place, actually, which I've mentioned here, for sharing advice, there's an email list for ESOL research, so it's the ESOL research email list, which if you're an ESOL teacher, and also I think it'd be useful for EAL, it's a really helpful place to share ideas. A few of the things that have come up from the chats we've had, I think, they've already been mentioned a little bit, but just be really aware of the pressure of how things are at the moment. It's very different, and don't treat it like a normal lesson. We had teachers coming on the chat to start with saying, but they really struggle to cope with my 2-hour lesson, and then suddenly thinking, oh, that's because actually it's different. And building in that kind of social time, the downtime, is a really crucial part of that. And something that's come through time and again is about flexibility and about thinking about different tools to meet different needs. Now, obviously, if you're in a college, you tend to have quite good infrastructure, but a lot of our ESOL teachers are out in the community. They have very few resources, and their students may have very few resources. So one of the tools that keeps coming up actually in the chat is WhatsApp, because students tend to have it, and students who may not have access to other tools. And part of the issue, I suppose, is that if you haven't had certain things in place before lockdown, it's quite hard to get students to suddenly adapt to loads and loads of new apps and new things that they've got to download and deal with. So actually, although WhatsApp has issues in terms of safeguarding, people have been thinking of really good ways of dealing with that by getting their organisation to purchase mobile phones, for example, so they can use it, and feel secure that they're using it. But that's been a really helpful information that people have shared. Digital exclusion, I think that's one of the things that came up a little bit earlier. Not everyone has all the equipment that we perhaps assume. So there are some real issues there. And, I know we're talking about online learning, but actually sometimes thinking outside the box and trying to work out what the other options are. So it may be that you have to get one student to contact another student if you're not able to do that easily. And we've had teachers saying, actually, I'm just off down to the post box to post some work to people. So we have to sometimes go to the different methods of dealing with things. When I was teaching ESOL students, particularly, I used to use Edmodo a lot, which was a really, really nice tool. And one of the things that helped with, and I think there are loads of other options as well, was the whole idea of building a sense of community. And that came up, I think it applies to students as well as to teachers here. And something that's really come through is that actually students have been supporting one another really well at the moment. And what a lot of people on the Twitter chat have said, that it's been really brilliant to have students kind of actively going off, making contact with the students who are perhaps struggling a little bit more to access things, and using their own languages or other languages that they have to do that. So I think that's another thing, kind of not so much about the technology, but just to remember that what a range of students we have, and to sort of make the most of all the skills that they bring with them to support one another. And actually that's helpful for us as teachers as well. Another thing is actually thinking about, we're focusing so much on online activities, but link them up with offline tasks as well. So, get students to take photos of stuff that they're doing outside the house, get them to do things, and then share those with one another. So again, those can be quite low tech things, really. If you have a smartphone, then you can take some photos, you can do some recordings perhaps. So keep things sort of as simple or as complicated as suits you. So think around kind of the situation that you're in and that these students are in. And I think, just going back to really what Isla was talking about, keep in touch with everybody, so you're not on your own here. And one of the reasons that we wanted to start the Twitter chat was really about that. We've had people kind of saying, I really am stuck. And there are lots of ESOL teachers who are very isolated. They might have a small team, they might be part-time, they might be a volunteer teacher, so they might have very little to support them in some respects. But it has been brilliant to see people coming together and actually sort of sharing their concerns and the issues. And thinking about the not on your own bit, I wanted just to do a little bit of information about some of the things that we're doing with Edtech. So I'll go on to the next slide. So we've got the ESOL chat, which we're doing on Mondays. That's at 1 p.m. every Monday. So that's a really nice way to get in touch with people and just to share ideas. And it's such a brilliant bunch of people. It's a lovely thing to do. If you're an Edtech member, we do send out lots of information, and we also send quite a lot of that to supporters, subscribers as well. So it's not just for members. So if you're not aware of Edtech, I would really have a look. We've also got quite a few things coming up, again, which people might be interested in looking at. There are web forums, which are starting tomorrow, actually. There's one in the east of England, which people can still sign up for. And we've been doing CPD webinars as well. So again, there's sort of lots of things coming up. One of them is the next one is actually about if you have got few resources. So it might be a really useful one if that's an area that's a concern to you. And we're also planning an online conference. We normally have a face-to-face conference, but we're doing an online one. So that's actually our kind of alternative, and it's, I think, going to be a really interesting one. We've got Russell Stannard, who is very good at talking about lots of different tools which might be useful. So hopefully he'll be a really useful person to have there. But I would really absolutely back up what Isla said. The key, I think, is about community, building community with your students and building community with colleagues right across the board, and collaborating, I think, has been a real bonus of this. I've seen a lot of collaboration. People, I think, are less worried about keeping to their own organisation, and that's a really key thing which I think has really benefited people. So I'm going to just try and get out of the slide sharing if I can. There you go.
Yeah, that was really good. Thank you so much, Diana. Sorry, will you get back to speak, Mark?
Yeah, I was just going to jump back into a question before. It was really, really interesting, and thank you for sharing that. I've taken a few screenshots actually and tagged you in it and tweeted you what you're presenting as well. So, sort of trying to spread the word a little bit. I want to ask you more about Edtech in a moment, or the tail end of this question. But what I started to ask before you presented, one of the things that's been quite difficult for teachers to do during COVID is obviously to have those sort of face-to-face relationships and so forth and so on. And an important aspect of learning is having that opportunity to give feedback. Have you got any ideas or things that could be helpful to people from any research you've read or some activities or ideas you see people share about how people could best sort of go about finding how to sort of support feedback better with learners who have English as a secondary language?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my area of research as such, but I think a lot of it, at the moment, there's so much which people are adapting to, and so there is obviously this research. For example, there's research on screencasting, which Isla was mentioning earlier, which is a really valuable tool. I think there's lots of research on feedback in different ways. I think at the moment a lot of it's about what practitioners are sharing, isn't it, and kind of how practitioners are managing at this current time. And now there was actually a really useful link, which I'll try and tweet later, which I think was an Australian-based collection of how people are dealing with the current situation and, the practices that people have been developing. So I will try and share that. But also, I think I mentioned in there that the ESOL research list, which is ESOL practitioners, ESOL researchers, it's a very good way of kind of people informally sharing their experiences of what they're doing and what's working well. So I would definitely recommend a look at that. And with Edtech, we have a journal called Language Issues, which and a blog which I've been working on recently. And we're kind of gathering together people's experiences of what is working. So not so much formal research, but practitioner kind of on the ground in the current situation research. So I've just got we've got a blog post which I'm hoping to put up in the next week or so from a brilliant project in Manchester called Heart and Parcel, and they do cooking and ESOL, and they've been doing live cooking demonstrations in the last few weeks, and they've had teachers on YouTube feeding back to students, giving feedback as it goes, and then people can go away and try the recipes themselves, and that's what I like, is those innovative ideas that I think are really coming through at the moment. So it's quite exciting.
I think I need to do that myself, to be honest, with my cooking. I'm not the best of chefs, so any help on that front will be gratefully received. Got a nice comment here from Aim Flores, who's still with us. How useful, Diana. I have a class of ladies from different backgrounds, and they feel safer with our chat on WhatsApp. I think it's important, I guess, to remember that not all the learners are going to be sort of age 16 to 18 or sort of 18 to 21, and sort of bearing all those sort of things in mind as well. Bukky, did you want to jump in?
Yes, sorry, I was just going to say, I love the fact that you've actually got the regional and national networks that are still continuing. And again, it links to the theme of what Isla said before about the community. You're not in isolation, there are people out there. And also about the fact that what's really relevant and topical right now is that people aren't necessarily looking for research, they're looking for what works right now. and trying it out and passing those ideas on as well, which I think is really great. So that forward thinking, proactive nature is really great. And Twitter again is a great way of actually sharing those resources really quickly. I just wanted to quickly ask you though, because I just know, mindful of the time, this evening has just gone so really quick. What's been the most powerful resource that you have found that helps educators to better support their students? I know you mentioned a number of different things, but is there any one that particularly springs to mind?
Well, to actually support teachers rather than to support the learners, for teachers, I'd probably say Twitter, because that's my thing. I think other resources. I don't think there is one resource that's a solution. I think as Mark always says, it's about how you use the resource, isn't it? And what I kind of think is there are the activities that engage students, things like quizzes, all those kind of things. But actually, what I always love is a space where you can build community, because I think that's something that is so important, and I think it's really important for ESOL students actually in particular, where that building of a kind of community aspect is really important to the students and the teachers. So I think that whatever tools you use, if you can work on that element of it and just bring people in over time, that's just the most valuable thing ever.
Yes, and it's interesting because you're mentioning about building the relationship as well as alongside the learning, which actually helps to foster, I suppose, stronger learning habits in that regard.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll hand over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Bukky. We've got a question just before we start to sort of wrap things up. About 3 minutes or so left. We've got a question from Mars Maths, and this is open to all of you. If you want to sort of answer, if you wanted to jump in on that response there. But do you have any tips to share with vocational maths or science teachers on how to support ESOL learners in their online lessons? Anyone wants to sort of jump in on that question?
Can I first? So the first thing that comes to mind, to me, obviously, video recording of your lesson, and use closed captions so the students not only can listen to you, but they can read it as well as transcribe everything you're saying, and probably just send it to them before your lesson so they can prepare themselves.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, and something that people often don't know as well is that if you put a video onto YouTube, there is auto captioning on YouTube, and if it doesn't pick up the words quite correctly, you can actually go back into the scripts behind the scenes on YouTube and actually edit those things out as well. And we've also got a comment in response as well from Rachel Owen, Mars Maths. ETF Shaping Success CPD series is where you need to look. There's a whole module on assisting ESOL needs on other programs of study. So some feedback there from Rachel there. And Mars Maths has now come back and said, thank you very much. See, this is why it works. It's fantastic, isn't it? We're all out of time now. So I will just pass over to Bukky now, just to wrap up a little bit, and then we'll do a little shout out for what's happening straight after this show, shall we, Bukky?
Yes, so first of all, I would just want to thank all of our 3 guests, as you always do, Alex, Isla and Diana, for your insights and anecdotes as well, which are really heartwarming, and also reinforcing the fact that the online community is really helpful for teachers during this particular time, as well as the students as well. So thank you again for joining us. I always say this every week, I wish you had more time to hear some of your ideas, but thank you again, as I say, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All so much for your time. I'm sure you want to be sort of doing things. I know we've got children and what have you as well. So it is really lovely and a real mark of the profession as well. I think something that goes to some of the things we've been sharing around Twitter as well. Education. We don't see this sort of thing happening so much in other professions, and I think it sort of shows what a great profession that we all work in, where we can sort of come together and help and support each other in the way that we do. So thank you again, like Bukky said, to all of you for giving us some time this evening. We're about to wrap up because it's time to go out and show our support for our National Health Service workers, for those that want to sort of show their appreciation in that sort of way. But I do want to do a quick shout out for 2 things before we do sign off, everybody. So we've moved to YouTube, so please do hit that subscribe button. As I mentioned at the beginning, I feel like I'm probably YouTuber. I hit that subscribe button. I feel like it's actually sort of like thing telling people to subscribe, but not really. But please do subscribe. And straight after this show, not straight literally, but a 8:15, we're going live again. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and you can more easily find where that episode is. But we're starting a live pub quiz. Doors open for the pub quiz. It's home quiz really, but the doors open for the quiz at 8:15, with a view to us actually starting the quiz around about 8:30. We've got a whole bunch of questions and rounds, specifically sort of targeting things that teachers might be interested in, with some general knowledge things thrown in there for good measure. And we've got some fantastic prizes as well for the quiz tonight. So we've got £75 Amazon voucher from Net Support. We've got £50 voucher from Tutor Education. We've got a host of different prizes. I'm just getting my prize sheet list out really to read, to sort of name check everybody. But there are lots of prizes to be won this evening on that quiz. So please do stick around, and we'll be back at about 8:15 here on YouTube for UK Edu Stories. I felt some sort of salesman now, you know.
But join us. All I'm saying is it will be fun, and join in. So whoever is available, it's going to be a great way to spend your Thursday evening.
Yeah, that's what, trying a bit of fun as well. So thank you so much again, everybody, and thank you for viewing this evening. Thank you again to Diana and Alex and Isla, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Bye, everyone. Thank you again.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.